Good afternoon. Welcome to today's edition of the Coal Scene. I'm Chris Hamilton with the West Virginia Coal Association, and I'll be your host today. Joining me in the studio are two ladies here who work locally. First we have Miss Andrea Williams, who's a ninth grade English teacher at George Washington High School. And alongside of Andrea is Miss Juliette Terry, who is the manager of public affairs and government affairs for Cliffs Natural Resources, which is a major supplier of iron ore and metallurgical coal. Today's show is going to feature and surface around, center around a coal-related workshop that was sponsored by GW High School here recently. Andrea and Julia both participated, along with myself and several other members of the coal industry. In fact, Andrea was responsible for not only coordinating the event, but it was her idea, and all the work that went into sponsoring and lining up the program was that of Andrea. So that's probably a pretty good place to start. Andrea, thanks so much for taking time to join us here today. Juliette, thank you for joining us. That's probably a pretty good place to start. Why not just give us a little background and, you know, what kind of provoked your thinking of bringing coal to the classroom at George Washington High School?
Okay, Chris. Well, I have been teaching Homer Hickam's novel Red Helmet, which is a story about a woman named Song Hawkins who works for her father, Joe Hawkins. She's a very rich New Yorker, and she ends up marrying a superintendent from a mine in a fictional place called High Coal, West Virginia. And as my students have been reading the novel, the title of the novel is Red Helmet. So we've been looking at coal, we've been looking at West Virginia's main economic driver, and we've been studying what is a red helmet? You know, what is red cap training? How do you become a red cap? I've been looking at the different jobs within the mine, from entry level to advanced, and what it's like to be a coal miner. So we wanted to kind of give them an idea of the coal industry in West Virginia and what types of opportunities are available to them, and also highlight some of the important parts of our book. Excellent.
You know, we're going to talk about, you mentioned so many things there in that short statement, and we're going to come back and we're going to analyze and just talk about the career opportunities that exist in coal today. You mentioned coal being a primary driver behind the state's economy and local economies, and we'll explore all that. Juliette, you were on the program. Mm-hmm. You were on the panel. What was some of your perceptions, your thoughts going in, as well as what you left there with that day?
Well, I have to first my hat off, red hat or any other hat, to Andrea. I thought this was phenomenal. You know, I went to a very large public high school in West Virginia, in Wheeling, the other Patriots. We never had a seminar like that where you had 300 students learning about an actual industry in West Virginia. Like you said, it's the core economic driver. It's the foundation of our economy here, and it's really we've built and powered the United States right here from West Virginia. And you know, I work in the coal industry now. I didn't always work in it, but I've always respected it. And I think what you did is you teed up a conversation that's going to continue, I'm sure, for the rest of the year with your students. The friends of mine who had students that were in the audience really found a lot of value in it. And people think teenagers are so cynical these days that they wouldn't care, but they really got into it. I thought you had them ready with great questions. As a former student, I wish I had more teachers like you. I mean, I had some great ones, but your enthusiasm is something really to admire.
Thank you.
Well, good. One of the featured speakers that you had at the program was Mr. Roy Lee Cook, who was one of the original Rocket Boys. He went to school with Homer Hickam, and he was part of that. I think it's the Big Creek Rocket Missile Agency.
Yes.
Which I just chuckle every time I see and hear that. But so he and Homer and Roy Lee was also part of that group that won the National Science Award in the early '60s. So I was there, and I listened to to him, and I also watched the students how you know, just how intent they were on listening to everything he had to say, from his childhood upbringing to, you know, the way that Cole played a big piece in his life. I think we have a clip here. Why don't we watch the clip of Roy Lee, then we'll come back and you know, just chat about it for a while.
Okay.
And now I have a trucking company over in Cross Lanes. We also do hotel development. Have a foundation that gives an award out each year to the West Virginia Teacher of the Year. And I think this last 2 weeks ago was probably either the 10th or 12th year that we've given out that award. It recognizes a teacher that either has overcome a physical or otherwise problem in becoming a teacher, or later to stay a teacher, or someone who just their entire life wants to do something for the students. This winner a couple of weeks ago was Jeremy Rodriguez from down in Raleigh County, and I believe that he took that award, that cash award, and invested it back in his own students. I don't think he spent a single penny on himself. And that's the kind of devotion that we have in West Virginia. People work hard. They believe that they can help themselves. In Coalwood, everybody took care of each other. It didn't matter if you belonged to the union or not. It didn't matter if you worked in the office or in the coal mine. We were all neighbors, and we made sure that if there was a problem in a family, it got taken care of. I don't think that was unique to Coalwood, West Virginia. I think it's something that's unique, though, to the state of West Virginia, because we care. Now, just briefly, let me tell you what the difference in coal mining was when I was growing up and what it is now. The big difference is one word. It is automation and computerization. When I was born, they still had work ponies in the mines. They were still digging coal out practically by hand. And as I grew up and grew older, we started getting machines that could do that. The continuous miners, which was a wonderful invention. And later on, the longwall miner, I hope everybody gets a chance to visit a mine that has a longwall mine operates in it. It's a very safe and secure and very productive way of mining coal. And finally, even on the outside, on the strip mines, we use things that are called very similarly highwall miners. And those two are very safe and very efficient in producing coal. So what has happened is that instead of a lot of people working in the coal mines and producing coal, we now have a smaller workforce, but it's working much more efficiently. And they're getting paid better, and they have safer and more secure jobs in our great state.
We might go back and watch some more of the video here in a little while. Roy Lee, like Homer Hickam, you know, they don't pass up an opportunity to visit schools around the state and out of the state, and they just do such an excellent job. And just as Roy Lee did at your event, he and Homer both, they just give so much credit to the influence that their teachers had over them, for all the inspiration, for steering them, you know, in the right direction, for believing in them, for instilling that confidence. And I'm sure that's a part that's very rewarding for you and your colleagues in the classroom.
It really is. We want to see all of our students work to their true potential. And that's one of the reasons why we decided to have this panel. I wanted students to be able to hear from several different industry experts, to hear from Roy Lee Cook what it was like growing up in a coal town, to hear about the values of the people of Coalwood, West Virginia, and the drive that they have, and use him as inspiration. He's a very successful entrepreneur in this state. So I wanted them to hear from the top people in the field. We had Ryan Toller from Patriot Coal, Juliette Terry from Cliffs Natural Resources. We had Chris Smith from Natural Resource Properties, and then yourself. So I wanted them to have the opportunity to hear from varied positions in the field and to be able to kind of make the connection from past coal towns to currently what the coal industry looks like, and then the opportunities that are available.
I thought it was interesting, and I made the note, I mentioned to several people that I think we had just about every generation of those of us involved in the coal industry present on that stage, almost in ascending or descending order, depending on what side you were at.
Not sure what you're getting at, Chris.
Well,
We're not bringing up age
Well,
here.
you were in the middle, so you were protected. But Brian and Chris, to their credit, I mean,
they're
they had
fantastic.
to be more probably influential with the with the young men and women that were sitting with a real ambition to perhaps get into mineral or the coal industry at some point in time. Because there's two guys that, they basically have the looks of a high schooler themselves. Are so youthful looking, but yet have this wealth of experience. And both are mining engineers. Both have about 10 years within the industry. They've fulfilled a variety of occupations. And with differing responsibility at the mine level, and both are basically at that middle level, was almost senior manager level at a very, very young age. And I just put myself in that classroom watching the interaction and listen to those guys. That, geez, here's a couple guys that I could really aspire to, and with a little bit of experience and all might get there someday. So
Well, you had students come up to you at the end who said, I want to get into a Red Hat class. How do I get started? So your career readiness is already helping, I think. It was exceptional to watch.
I think when we hear of employment opportunities in the industry, the first thing that everyone thinks of, and in some cases the only thing that people think of, are the working miner positions. How do I become a miner? And again, when they hear the job opportunities, they think miner. I'm not sure everyone's aware of the assortment or variety of positions that exist and the employment opportunities looking forward down the road that this industry will account for and eventually provide.
I agree with you completely. I certainly don't look like a coal miner, so to speak, but we do have a lot of women in our workforce, in all levels of our workforce at Cliffs and a lot of the other companies. I'm on the lobbyist side. I handle government relations for state and federal issues related to Cliffs coal business. So I'm on the business end of it, but some of my best days at work are when I get to put on a hard hat and coveralls and boots and go underground and take a politician who may not even come from an energy state, and show them you want your lights to turn on in Washington when you're making your decisions. Where do you think that power is coming from? And we can take them and show them, and the workforce is great about explaining the process to them. So again, I really think starting that education at the teenage level, like you have started, even by having Red Helmet on your curriculum. I don't know if you get to make those choices, but it's just great, because the sooner we get people to understand the huge range of employment possibilities. I can't think of a job, Chris, that a coal company wouldn't need. I mean, really, we talk about horticulturalists, we need political scientists, we need land surveyors, engineers, anything from the STEM education we absolutely need. But there, there's no gender anymore in a coal miner. I mean, everything is really open to anyone. And I think any background. Sometimes we've seen people who went a business track, didn't really like wearing a suit every day and sitting behind a desk, and they ended up going back to technical school and going to work where you get dirty every day, and that's fun, and you're making an impact to the world. So I can't tell you enough how much I love what I do.
Well, and our kids in high school and in junior high school, they need to know that there will be employment opportunities within this industry, because we've gone through a couple cycles, and we've always gone, and we will continue to go through these cycles where you have high productivity and output opportunities and needs, and then you'll go into periods of slowdown, which is where we are today. And so and what happens with that, it seems like it starts going through the communities. The coal mining's laying off. And if you're about to leave high school, you ought to think of another career path. And we're going through some general or overall downsizing with our industry right now, but it'll stabilize within the next year or so. And the remaining part of West Virginia's coal industry will still be a strong industry that's vitally important to the overall economics of this state. We mine, as we were talking last week, traditionally 150, 160 million tons of coal. We do that with about 22,000 coal miners. We're down to 115, 120 million tons, and most people think that's where we're going to stabilize over the next 10 years or so. So there's still a lot of, that equates to 18, 19,000 full-time positions. And as Julie indicated, it's just not the mining positions. It's the engineers, it's the technical people. It's this whole list of positions and professions that are required today on the mine. Environmental and environmental sciences has opened up a whole closet full of positions, requiring biologists, people with chemical, even chemists. I was going to say with chemical backgrounds, but there are chemists employed. Foresters for all and landscape architects. I mean, it's an amazing business on the mine reclamation, all the water quality issues. So it goes way beyond the direct mining jobs.
That's one thing that I wanted to highlight was the supporting industries. Here we have Walker Machinery, we have with hydraulics. I mean, we have all these other businesses where students that maybe decide to go the vocational route will be able to be employed. Most research is showing that within the next 10 to 15 years, mid-level skilled jobs are going to be the jobs in this valley. So that really targets that population of student also.
And it really opens up these opportunities that people have to become certified in a specific area. Mine electricians, welders. It don't even have to be a mine electrician. Just a person with an electrical certification. So the career and technical path is really unlimited, and we're doing as a state, I believe, so much just a lot better job identifying those occupations available within that particular region or location. And it seems like the career and technical schools are a lot more responsive today, and really making sure that they have programs that are conducive to the jobs that are available.
And even the community colleges, Canal Valley Community and Technical College, Bridgemont, they have tailored programs for operators, for people that would like to go into engineering later on. And I think that a lot of people in this valley overlook the community college aspect of maybe saving a little bit of money before you transfer to a larger college. I'm a product of that. I went to the Community College of Allegheny County in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and then transferred to a larger university. And there is a stigma about CTSOs, career and technical organizations, and I'd like to see that change in this valley. I attended the Educator Industry Institute earlier this summer, and that's actually where I established my contact with the West Virginia Coal Association through Bill Rainey, and he really helped me. He was instrumental in helping me organize this event. But we would really like to see some other educators get involved with industry and see how easy it is to have a panel like this. It just takes a little bit of planning and some extra phone calls, but to see that you all as industry leaders are willing to come and talk to students as well.
I think you're absolutely right. I think every successful bit of education reform, if you want to call it that, or anything else, shows the value of getting the private sector involved in your public education delivery. Because we're out there, we can speak from experience, and I know that we've been speaking off camera about how important experiential learning is becoming, particularly at the teenage and very impressionable level where they're trying to figure out who they're going to be. And I forget the name of the program you had told us about, Common Core.
The Next Generation Common Common Core?
Okay, well, I came from a private, small liberal arts college where it wasn't as long ago as Chris might make it seem, but experiential learning was just kind of catching on. Internships were getting to be more popular, and now they're huge. And I think that the advice that Chris and Ryan gave on the other Chris gave on the panel, which is if you really don't know what you're going to do, go enroll and get a skill, get a certificate under your belt so you at least have a guaranteed way to make money while you figure out who you're going to be. And I thought that was fantastic advice that he gave.
I think that's the greatest advice, and you hear that occasionally. But
Yeah.
As opposed to going into a 4-year university or college and without any idea of what you want to be at the end of that that trip, and sometimes that trip expands into 6 or 7 years today,
Yeah.
as opposed to just 4. And there's a lot of what we characterize as go nowhere degree programs, and or the salary attendant to those programs, and even job availability is questionable in a lot of them. So it just makes all sense in the world if you really are just kind of floundering, and as opposed to risking being on the low side of your quality point minimums. It just makes all sense in the world if there's an opportunity, such as there is in coal, to maybe go and make a $50,000-$60,000 a year salary as you're trying to figure out what it is you want to be when you grow up. So
there aren't many jobs where you can, at a very early stage in the game, be able to put money in the bank and save. I mean, and this is an industry that will help you get there with great benefits too. So.
And I've been around the other point, Andrew, you make is the eagerness or the willingness on behalf of coal officials to become more engaged with their local school, whether that's a high school, grade school, or even a technical school and college. There really is there is an eagerness there, not just a willingness. Everyone wants to be able to. It looks good and it makes sense for people to partner with the educational institutions.
That's actually what I've been doing in my classroom. As a result of Charleston Area Alliance Educator Industry Institute, I've asked my students to commit to an industry, whether it be healthcare, food, within the entrepreneurial, hotel development, education, and we'll reevaluate that in January. But while they've committed to whatever industry it is, I've been trying to show them how important the skill of using English correctly and having proper grammar and being able to write across the curriculum, how all those things really are across all content areas and all jobs and all fields. And one of the things that I've been doing is implementing Common Core Next Generation standards in my classroom. 46 states have adopted them. We call them Next Generation in West Virginia because we've changed them about 15%. But what we're hearing from our post-secondary schools is that we're failing our students. We're not teaching them how to communicate, to pick up the phone and do a cold call, to be able to, interview an official like you, to be able to, go out and research. And so we're seeing, as a result of Common Core, an increased Lexile level, more of the connections to text and the complexity of text, increasing their vocabulary. For the mining industry, we've had them to look at domain-specific vocabulary. What is longwall miner? What is surface mining? What is, what does it mean to go inside of a mine and look at the different types of machines that are there? Have they ever been exposed to those things? So it really does change the English classroom. I'm sure that if someone came in, they may say, what is this lady doing? But we're showing how to connect their knowledge across all content areas. And I think that's really important for them to be college and career ready.
So is that a national program, the Common Core
Yes,
standard?
most states are adopting it.
And are there standards or criteria established at the national level? Is that how that works?
There are standards that have been established, like your CSOs previously, and basically we're just seeing the level of difficulty and rigor go up. Because students don't know how to look at an informational text or create an argumentative piece of writing. So this increases the rigor. The standards increase the rigor in the classroom. For 11th grade readers, we're looking at texts that are a year and a half advanced. So what they would be seeing in an English Comp 101 class, that's what we're looking at.
I think that's fantastic. I mean, you can absolutely tie somebody's earning potential to their ability to communicate effectively, and I'm a firm believer that I don't care what your career path ends up being. If you can write, not the Queen's English, I'm not saying it has to be the Queen's English, but proper punctuation, capitalization, not the way you would write a text message these days. I mean, I think we have eroded so much of how we communicate because of the ease of the digital age, but gosh, you know, I don't think I'd ever give anybody a job interview who couldn't write an email to me with correct English. So I mean, when you boil it down to those simple tasks, I just think it's fantastic. That ability to think critically, be enterprising, you know, that's what we want our workforce to be. We can teach you the skill, but can you come in and want to learn, embrace the content, and then be able to solve problems?
And that's one of the things that I wanted to get out of the panel. I wanted my students to see that there are soft and hard skills that are required in this industry, in all industries. And one of the main problems that I heard from industry leaders within all the industries within the Alliance Institute this summer was the ability to communicate effectively, the ability to pass a drug test, being a critical thinker and learning those problem-solving skills. So it's really, really important for students to start honing those in high school, even if they don't know what their career path will be. You know, learning how to talk to others is a really important team skill, and working in the mining industry, that requires you to work with a team.
Absolutely.
You know?
No, that can, I mean, and those skills are all transferable from one occupation to another. And, you know, some are skills, some are just individual attributes. But, you know, I believe most can be learned if they were exposed. You know, I'm always amazed when you go into a high school and ask to see a show of hands. Even a school like GW, where, you know, you have a lot of diversity, and as we do here in Charleston, but Kanawha County's, you know, one of the state's leading coal-producing counties, and because of that diversity, it kind of gets hidden a little bit that we do have such a strong mining industry here locally. But there was a lot of hands that went up when the question was asked.
I was surprised at that.
You know, who has a relative, whether it be a brother, a father, an uncle, or a pawpaw that's involved with the coal industry. Well, we're just about out of time, believe it or not. That went extremely fast. And I want to thank you both for taking the time from your busy schedules to join me here today on the coal scene, just to talk and reflect over the experience. Andrea, it was just such an excellent day, and we extend that invitation to every high school and to every school for that matter. We'd be glad to participate, be glad to have someone visit the school and, you know, talk about the coal industry. So with that, again, thank you both, and
Thank you.
we want to thank you for taking the time to join us today on today's episode of the Coal Scene here on the Library Television Network.